Hi, this is Daniel, and today I'll be talking again about um, collections. Uh, I've created some sample code here, which are going to cover the most common collections, the main type of collections, and we're getting started with array lists. And basically, this collection lets you add and remove, get and set elements inside a list, and we can use very different types of array list. Here we're just using a string type of list, but it could be an int or float or any kind of object we create. There's a very important element that I really like to use in array list, which are sorts. Here basically I created a list with 6 elements. The indexes start at 0, so this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So basically here I'll be running this simple code, and in the beginning we're getting basically, it's very simple. I just printed here the elements inside the array list, but notice that I've removed the last item. Although we can still see here the letter E, even though this is the last one, and it was because I sorted the list and F came to the bottom, and after F came to the bottom I removed the last index in the list. So now we have, instead of removing E, we removed F. Okay, and basically here just print it. I iterated through the array list and printed each item here. Okay, and here I'm just casting the element to make sure it's a string. Here we're using set, and the main characteristic of a set is that it doesn't allow you to add two elements which are the same, exactly the same. So basically each position will only allow you to add a different element. And here, as you can see, I'm trying to add two letters E to the set, but when I ran through the set here, added the elements and printed. I didn't remove, didn't do anything, just added each element and then printed them out. And as you can see here, we have A, B, C, D, E, and not double E, two E's, as I tried to add. Even though it didn't add, but it didn't also trigger any kind of exception. It doesn't throw exceptions. It just doesn't add because there's an element here. Down there, I have a queue, which basically is it sets the priority of the elements inside the list or queue. And basically the logic here is that the first element in will be the first out. When I operate it, I basically remove also the element. As you can see here, when I ran this queue, I got the queue size. After adding the elements, I got the queue size here, and it was 6. It was equals to 6. I added 6 elements. Then I iterated through it, and using the poll method, which is given by the priority queue interface, and when I ran the same method the size method to get the size of the queue. As you can see here, there were none. So all the elements were removed after going through the queue. After that, I have a map. Hash maps are very useful, at least for me. I really like using them because they're gonna give you a key value pair element or list, and basically I just have to, the put method is similar to the add here. It will increase the map with another object, and basically I got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it could be anything. It doesn't really need to be an integer. It could be a string. It just have to be a unique value, because this is going to be the key that will give access when I try to get the element inside. So here it's good to use, it's interesting to use numbers, and as you can see here, they are ordinated, or they're listed from 1 to 6 following the order. So when I iterate through it using a for, every time I increase 1 to the iterator variable, I will get the next element. So basically here I'm getting it and then printing. I could just kind of do this and it would do the same, but just for a better visualization, I am doing the other way. Right here I got another map, but in this case I'm using a string as a key and not an int. And after that I'm just printing them. I added the name, I added the age to this map, this hash map as declared here object. Then I added the phone, and after that I can do the same get, but using the keys I passed. So I print name and then I get mat2.getName and pass the name key. It returns the value inside that instance. And right after that I'm using a linked list, which is going to and as you can see here, it returns all the elements that I've created inside the map2 variable. And the final one is the linked list. I created a class to use with a linked list, just to give a second idea of what's going on. And it's very simple. I just have a constructor and a toString method, and that's it. I'm just passing a student instance or object to the list, and that's interesting because, as I have declared here, the list is going to require a student, so I cannot add a different type of value here. So it has to be a student in both cases, or in case, as long as I have defined in my instantiation of my list variable. After that, I basically just run through it, and as you could see, there was a very close. Linked lists and array lists are very similar. I just added and then ran through it, and they're basically exactly the same. The difference here is that the add method and also the remove method, I could do something like my list the remove and then pass an index here, and they're basically the same as you did here, but linked lists performs better when you're doing this add and remove. So this is a very basic example, and we will not see any difference in performance of the algorithm. But when we run a high level algorithm, or we have too many objects which are going to be added or removed, then it's important to think on the methods that are going to be used. And look at this in this case, if you're adding and adding or removing too many items, it's interesting to use them. Although the get and set methods, they don't perform as good as the array lists. So if we're retrieving data, if we're going to need to retrieve loads of data, then it's interesting to use array lists. And basically that's it. Here I added the two students and then ran through it. And here I'm just running an exception. And basically that's it. I actually tried to get an object that doesn't exist. So I got here index 1 out of bounds for length 1. So if I had, instead of 1, I tried to get 0, I would not get this error message. Could do it something like this. As you can see here, this is the first value. It doesn't throw any error. But if I change here and run it again, I will get this index 1 out of bounds for length 1 as we did before. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching.